Utah Jazz run into Kawhi Leonard, the all-star version, and the Clippers knock off the Jazz, not allowing any Delta Center magic for Utah tonight. 117-103 Clippers. Postcast is next.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Utah Jazz fall to the Los Angeles Clippers, and that's the first look we've had at the Clippers with James Harden and Russell Westbrook in a diminished role, and that's a better basketball team than we saw before. Jazz tonight played with good energy, just without Lowry Markkanen. It has been awfully hard for them to score. They, at halftime, had an offensive rating of 60 in the half court, and the fact that just makes it incredibly difficult on your defense, and particularly every time the Jazz huffed and puffed tonight, whether it's Paul George or Kawhi Leonard or somebody made a play.
Yeah, coach calls a timeout, calls a play, puts Paul George out on the perimeter outside the three-point line, puts Kawhi Leonard down in the paint with his back to the basket, and then they're going to get a pretty good shot. You're absolutely right about Markkanen. What he does is he gets open shots for his teammates because he draws so much attention.
So and Jordan Clarkson came back tonight. Kelly Olynyk came back tonight. Jordan did not seem quite right. He was 2 of 9, did have 5 assists. He has really made an incredible commitment to passing the basketball. So he made some nifty fast break assists tonight in what he was doing. But that has really been the story here recently. The Jazz offense has been about a point of possession. They were under that in Dallas. They were under that in Minnesota. They were under that in Memphis. It is awfully hard to win basketball games in this league right now if you're not scoring at a high rate.
If you're not scoring at a high rate, and if you don't have enough players talented players anyway, that can score the ball and score the basket. Now, this Jazz team is going to struggle, from time to time, but at least they play hard.
There were plenty of bright spots tonight in a game in which, if we're really being honest about it, the Jazz didn't have many. Weren't really. There's Thurl. Everybody said Thurl. The Jazz didn't have much of a chance to win it. Like, it never felt like the Jazz were going to win it. They were down by 6 at the end of 1. Kawhi had 14. Then the Clippers led it 59-46 at the half. You're down 13. The Jazz went on a nice 11-3 run. But there was never really, and they threatened and got it within 8. And every time they threatened, the Clippers just kind of went on a 9 or 7-0 run to take control. But I thought there were plenty of bright spots tonight. One I thought is, I mentioned his plus minus is not good tonight. He's minus 25. I'm sure there were some things, but I'm just really glad Keontae made some shots. Like, I made the comment on Locked On Jazz today. Someone in the question, it was a question day, are you concerned? And I'm like, I'm not concerned on who he is as a player. I'm not concerned about his skill level. I'm just concerned the burden he has as a player, and he came in tonight having shot 15 of his last 53. And when you're shooting, like, I don't care who you are and what your moxie is, you're 15 of your last 53. You know that you've only hit 2 of your last 18 from 3. So I think it's a really important night that Keontae went 2 of 5 from 3 and 5-11 from the field.
Yeah, your confidence starts to build, and you're absolutely right. Players know when they're in a slump and knows that ball is not going into the basket. And okay, well, I'm going to change my game. I'm going to try to get to the basket. I'm going to try to drive to the basket, maybe get some layups or something like that. Get that percentage back up. Maybe that confidence in the jump shot will fall. And, he's young. And, sometimes guys don't really change their approach as far as scoring the ball, and they stay down there. But, it was a good night for him. And you had mentioned Jordan Clarkson there a few minutes ago, and I didn't respond to that. But he's Will's just trying to keep his head up, stop dribbling with his head down too often, and not finding the open man. So I think he's making a conscious effort to do that and passing the basketball.
Jazz put Walker Kessler back in the starting lineup tonight. Simone Fontecchio stayed. Ochai Agbaji came off the bench instead. Kelly Olynyk returned. He had 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Taylor Horton-Tucker came off the bench when Keontae got the start. Now, I think Keontae made his 14th start. For the first 8 games, it was super rough for Taylor Horton-Tucker coming off the bench. He was shooting about 24%, about 11% from 3. Almost had lost. He kind of lost a little bit. He just lost his confidence, right? I mean, it happens. We've seen him kind of recover. He came in. He had back-to-back double-figure games. He came in tonight. He had only turned it over 2 times in the last 56 minutes. Tonight, he turned it over twice in 22 minutes, which isn't terrible. He had 16 points. He had 5 assists. Maybe he's finding himself in that bench role now.
So the 22 minutes that he played, I mean, those are probably good minutes for him, especially coming off the bench. Because just think about when Jordan Clarkson was 6th man of the year. For the most part, he'd come off the bench, and he knew how many minutes he was going to play. But he played at a pace and a tempo. He was able to play with the ball in his hands, and it really made a difference. In the starting lineup, you got 2 guys that want to play with the ball in their hands, and that just doesn't and it shouldn't work, for the most part, because it takes away from your teammates.
So that was nice for Taylor to get going. The Jazz ended up shooting just 29% from 3, 45% overall, and really just offensively are locking a lot of juice. Let's turn the focus. Go ahead.
Let's turn the focus here to the Jazz. Only got 31 3-point shots up this year. I mean, and tonight, and that's definitely not. I mean, they want to get up more 3-point shots than that.
They had their first quarter all year without a 3. They went 0 for 9 in the second quarter, only scored 20 points. Tyler Gibb, our statistician, found that for us tonight. All right, let's talk about the Clippers for a second. That's the first time we've seen them with Harden instead of Westbrook, and Westbrook is really, at this point, a bit piece that's holding on. I'm not convinced he finishes the year with them. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't trade for a backup point guard at the trade deadline and Westbrook moved on. He just really doesn't have a spot on this team. He's so all-encompassing when he's on the floor, and they just don't need it. What do you think of this team with James Harden?
So I think the question is, do you like the way James Harden is playing right now? I mean, James Harden, like Westbrook, has been in the league for 14, 15 years. And so your role changes after a while. I mean, obviously you can still shoot the basketball. But I think as far as just playing with 2 stars like Paul George, he's played with Embiid, who's a star center. But now he's got 2 star wing players that he can get the basketball to. And so it looks like he's changed his game a little bit. And he didn't even have a field goal attempt, early in the ball game.
He ends up shooting just 2 of 8 tonight, 2 of 6 and 3, does have 7 assists. He had 12 points. He's only taking 10 shots a night. He took 8 tonight. So Harden is really a very different player. It was Kawhi Leonard tonight. This was MVP, 2-time final MVP Kawhi Leonard tonight with 41 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And that's the question to me on the Clippers. Tim Lacombe on the postgame didn't seem to be as kind of – first of all, I just don't think there's a dominant team in the West right now. I think that's kind of – Phoenix and Denver are supposed to be the top teams. Minnesota's going to have the number 1 seed. Oklahoma City is shooting the lights out and won't go away. Maybe deserves to be thought of that way. It's going to be a wild playoff when Golden State lost again tonight. Who knows where they fit? The Lakers are about to win the NBA Cup if they can do something that nobody else has done, which is slow down Tyrese Halliburton. And then you have the Clippers. There's 6 teams. I'm sure I've forgotten somebody who's pretty good in that mix. Sacramento, who won again tonight over Phoenix. And how do the Clippers fit? Like that's a pretty potent team to have out on the floor in a playoff series where you got to stop guys. And I guess the question to me is, do they have a top 10 player, right? Because if you're going to win it and carry yourself through 4 playoff series, you got to have a top 10 player, you got to have a top 20 player, and you got to have a top 50 player. They got 2 top 20 players and a top 50 player. I don't have a question. They got 3 top 30 players in the league, maybe even 3 top 20 players. Do they have a top 10 player? Is Kawhi Leonard a top 10 player in the NBA?
I think top 15. I don't know if I go top 10 right now, but I think top 15. But regardless of your top 10, your top 20, your top 30, as good as the West has been, they're still only as good as being healthy and staying healthy. And there's a number of teams that are definitely good enough to win it, but you just have to stay healthy and be healthy at the right time.
They are now 94 and 45. 94 and 45. So 2 wins to every loss, 67% win percentage when both of them play. And they have done that now for 21 games this year. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have both played every game this year. And they are 94 and 45. I'm in on the Clips. I'll tell you that. I'm in on the Clips.
I would be in on them as well, David. And hopefully I'm sure Ty Lue would love to have them healthy all season long. Both of those guys is averaging 34 and 32 minutes a ball game. Can they get to the point where they can play 28, 29 minutes a ball game and still win, going down the stretch into the playoffs? All
right, stars of the night. Lacey's keeping track. She keeps our scoreboard up for us all the time. She's on board with us tonight. You want to go first?
You can go first then.
I was going to give Taylor a star.
Yeah, that's one.
Okay, Taylor gets a star. John Collins
John
has the most grandiose line: 19 points, 13 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 assists, and 4 block shots. Probably pretty hard to deny that.
Yeah. The run and the stretch where the Jazz came back was Colin Sexton with 17 minutes to play. But I agree with you. I think John Collins and Tucker.
Taylor Horton Tucker and John Collins get our stars tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in to POSTCAST. David Locke, along with Ron Boone, will be with you in Oklahoma City.
Is that Monday?
And Sunday.
Yeah.
Do you think they could change the rules so we could fly in the morning?
I'm going to have my relatives wait for you at the airport. You know, I'm born in Oklahoma. You know, all my relatives are
at least it has a redeeming value. Actually, the steakhouse I go to is pretty good, and the None Such is an amazing restaurant. So there are 2 good meals there. You know,
it's only a 1-game trip, though. I mean, you're in and out. You're in and out. Is that good for you?
The only thing better is a back-to-back where we get in at 4 o'clock in the morning. Have a good one, everybody.
Yeah.